All good, thank you.
Good session this morning?
Yes, like always.
Can I just check, fitness-wise, how is everybody? Because there was quite a bit of concern about young Dan James last weekend.
Yes, we have a few doubts for this game. Daniel James is obviously major doubt. He's still struggling a bit with his hit in his core muscle, so major doubt also for this game. Also, Willi Gnonto, doubt, is struggling with some calf problems. Yes, missed a few training sessions, so late calls with both of them. But at the moment, I have to say there are major doubts. Apart from that, everyone is in a good place.
A lot's been said and written about your lack of goals this season. What have you done this week, or what can you do as a manager to change that? Is it just endless training ground work? Is it video review? What can you do as a manager to try and inspire your team to find them?
Yeah, first of all, to stay calm and also to stay to see a bit the bigger picture. We are a newly promoted side. It's obviously normal that we won't take this league in by storm. It's more like the first step is always to be rock solid at the back and to be difficult to beat. And this is what we are. And then quite often, of course, the results dominate a bit the narrative. But yeah, we have played a really good last away game at Fulham, and normally, if you just judge it as an objective, neutral supporter, would say it's normally a draw, perhaps even a away win. Yeah, I know. So if you would have won this game, then everyone would speak only about Europe or something like this here for Leeds United. But normally, if this unbelievable, unlucky own goal doesn't happen, everyone would just focus on, well, would have been the third clean sheet. They're already on 5 points, really difficult to beat. No one would even speak too much about our offense. And just because Gabby Goodmanson was there with this unbelievable, unlucky and heartbreaking situation, I won't judge what we've done so far in a different way. So first of all, I'm pretty happy that we are so rock solid, at least in most of the periods so far during the Premier League season. This is always the key as a newly promoted side, to give you a chance for survival. And then also to judge the games. We played against Everton, had the better chances, by far the most shots on goal, and we're also the only team who scored. We had the better chances in comparison to Newcastle when we played against them, more chances than them. And even at Fulham, I would say the first 70-75 minutes, we had the better chances. We had in total more shots anyhow. Also, like when you have the bigger picture, also in chances created, expected goals, shots anyhow, we are not in a bad position. What we have to prove a little bit is our cutting edge. So it's more like the outcome, the efficiency to score more goals, because yeah, the Premier League games are like this anyhow, and if we are, in terms of creating more chances in comparison to Everton, to Newcastle, and also 75 minutes at Fulham, the better side, then you have to make sure that you reward yourself. This is the only thing I can criticize a little bit, and what was missing. But we had a similar topic also in the beginning of last season when we spoke about, okay, we are playing really good football, creating many chances. We won't be that dominant like last season because it was just championship level, but more or less like out of our good situations to be a bit more effective, to be a bit more clinical and use the chances is definitely the responsibility for our offensive players. Our processes are good. We come into the situations to create. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there with so many shots already as a newly promoted side. It's more like to work a bit on the clinical edge and to use the situation that, whatever, first half, good header chance for Dominic. We had a shot against the crossbar. Brenden Aaronson, Noah Okafor in the second half with good chances. To be a bit more effective in this situation, this was also definitely a major topic on the training ground. Yeah, also like to bring the players, of course, in front of the goals and also to work a bit on their decision-making in the box and their sharpness, also their confidence a little bit, but without losing our defensive stability that we've shown so far. So football is always a complex game and you need to play balanced, and this is what we're trying to focus on.
And so to Wolves this weekend, a team struggling, no points. They'll probably be more desperate to score and to win the game than you are because of your points total already. What are you expecting from Wolves?
First of all, we are always desperate to score and desperate to win games. It doesn't matter against who we play. So for that, we are also highly motivated. But we also stay humble. We know that as a newly promoted side, in an away game, we are always the underdog. There is no doubt about this. We face an established Premier League side who plays in several years on this level. Yes, of course, they didn't have the most effective start in terms of points, but still early doors. And for that, we know that we travel there. And they will be even more highly motivated, especially in a home game against a newly promoted side, to win this game. So it doesn't make our life easier or the challenge a bit easier. We know that we have to be at our very best and fully concentrated and show our defensive steel again, and also in the good periods, hopefully also to reward ourselves with a goal. But we stay humble. We know that in a away game as a newly promoted side, we're always an underdog, but we also don't travel with fear. We have shown that we belong into this league. We have shown that we are competitive, and in this mood, respectful but not with fear, we will also travel.
Doesn't sound like you're losing sleep over the problem.
No, I never lose sleep anyhow. So I'm working this business since several years, and overall, so 4 points out of the first 4 games. Also not a bad start. 2 clean sheets under our belt, first win under our belt. So there's no reason to be in a bad mood or to panic at all. There are a few things that we have to improve and can improve. We spoke also about this topic, but it's nothing you would lose sleep over now.
Thanks for your time. Good
Thank you. Thank you.
Catherine.
Can I just check on Lucas Perri? Is he going to be available for this weekend?
No, like I mentioned, he's also out for this game, and then I would say in the middle of next week we have a clearer picture how long he will be out. But like I also mentioned, so for this 2 away game we won't have him available, and Carl will play again.
You talk a lot about facing Wolves and approaching it with that defensive steel, that humility, but given their start to the season, is there an argument to say, go there with some swagger, go for the jugular, and go with a must-win mentality as opposed to a do not lose? I don't know what you would say to that.
Well, must win. I've heard this last season, 46 games anyhow. So I go into each and every game and have the feeling, no, I must win this game because I want also to win this game. So there is no extra motivation. We are always there with 100% motivation to win the game. And if it's not possible to win it, then we want to make sure that we don't lose it. That's always our approach in football. It's never we just play for 1 point. We go into each and every game in order to win it. But let's imagine we would win 3 points. Believe me, then with 7 points, we won't stay in the Premier League. So it's also that nothing major is achieved. And if we lose a game anyhow, or if it's a draw, it's also nothing decided yet anyhow. So for that, it's 1 of 38 game days, another chance also to win 1 or 3 points. This is what we're desperate trying to do. And it does make our life easier that they had perhaps not the start in terms of points that they wanted. It's very experienced Premier League side. Meanwhile, they had also done some proper business also and spent some money in the summer transfer window. They've won many points, especially in the second half of last season. So we still stay humble and are not in any way arrogant or big time anyhow. We know that as a newly promoted side anyhow, so we have to focus and concentrate and deliver always top performances. Otherwise you can't win points in this league.
I appreciate this is not a conversation that you particularly want to have with regard to Harry Gray, but given that he scored a hat-trick this week and given that we're seeing the introduction of Max Darman for Arsenal, Rio Ungamoa for Liverpool, when is the right time to introduce him to your Premier League squad?
I've said everything what I have to say about him in one of my last press conferences when I mentioned that I won't speak with him till we see him on the grass, and nothing has changed. I also wouldn't compare his situation with a player who comes in when the team is whatever 4-0, 5-0 up and gets his debut and everyone is happy, and then you don't see him for a while anymore. So in general, believe me, I'm far away from wanting to get across arrogant or overconfident or whatever. But I've started my career in the fourth tier in Germany. It was just about like to develop young players because we simply had no money anyhow. I had to develop young players in order then to be able to sell them one day. And then I overtook the most important youth team in Germany, the under-21 of Borussia Dortmund, and I've worked together with the best talents in Germany, some of the best talents in Europe. I was trusted to develop this young players. When I came to Norwich, in my first season, I replaced our club captain, big leader in the dressing room, with a 20-year-old young German centre-back. Was not easy in the dressing room, if I'm honest. In the second season, I've replaced then our club captain, Ivo Pinto, proven Portuguese international player, fan favorite, with the 18-year-old Max Aarons on his position left, and again the club captain out. Was not easy in the dressing room. When I came here to Leeds, I had Archie Gray, and we replaced my big leader, big legend, vice captain Luke Ayling on his position with a 17-year-old guy. Believe me, also not easy in the dressing room. Last season, I gave Matteo Joseph his debut and played him ahead of Patrick Bamford and Golden Boot winner Joel Pirot, especially in the beginning of the last season. Was also not easy in the dressing room anyhow. And don't want to come across arrogant in any way. I gave Harry his debut with 16 years old in the crunch time period in the championship last season. But if I would back a manager to be brave enough to play a young player, and I would back a manager who knows exactly what a young player needs, I would also pick me if I'm really honest. And I've said everything about Harry, what is necessary for him. He needs training sessions with the first team to get used to proper physicality of men football of the Premier League. He needs game time in the under-21 in order to stay in his rhythm and also not to lose his striker instinct and his confidence. And what he needs most is time and his peace to develop and to grow. And this is what I will give him. So you will see him once he's prepared for Premier League games, and then we can speak about him a bit more. Before he's not back on the grass, I'm not willing to speak about him.
Appreciate that, thank you. Finally, on Alfie Cresswell, who we've seen sign a new deal this week. He's still with Leeds. Why do you believe this is the right place for him to develop his career as opposed to him maybe going for a loan move somewhere else to gain experience?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Alfie. He's not a regular member of our training group anyhow, but here and there we have him with us. Brilliant lad, brilliant character, also flexible in many defensive positions. Has played as a centre-back, central midfield, as a full-back. Also quite important for our under-21, and we got the feeling there's more to come. This is why we extended his contract. Doesn't mean that from tomorrow on he's a proper member of the first team, but it's also important that we believe also in our young talents and want to develop them. And if they then one day make the step into being a proper member of the first team, then even better. Then we can save some transfer fee anyhow, and it's always better in terms of identification. If not, then we have to create the value. We have a brilliant lad and also very talented young lad and a top character with Alfie, and it's always a pleasure to see him. It's always good when we have him here and there also in our training group, and for that we got the feeling there's more to come, and let's see how he will develop.
Thank you.
Simon?
Hi Daniel. And whilst I appreciate that hard work and effort and training is the biggest key to it, at the start of the conversation that we're having, you mentioned about luck, albeit bad luck, for the goal that you conceded at Fulham last week. Are you someone that does believe in luck, and that's something that you can change, and maybe that's just a little bit of luck that can help Leeds get back on track again?
I'm a big believer in that you always get what you deserve on the mid and the long term. So there is no shortcut to success or whatever. So it's always like, I'm a big believer. You play like you train, and you will always reward it for what we are willing to invest in life and also in football. And this is also how we work. This doesn't take away that football sometimes can be the cruelest and also unfair sport in the world, because there are no other ball sports where it's just about one goal quite often. If you play tennis, there are so many points. If you play basketball, so the score is whatever, 120 to 110. If you play golf, there are many strokes, and sometimes you're lucky or unlucky, but if you have a good day, you play good, and if not, then you don't have a good score. So normally in each and every other sports, water polo, whatever, it's always the better team who wins the game. Yeah, basketball, you can also be sometimes that you just hit the ring and unlucky the ball goes out. But because there are so many points, it's always the better team who wins. In football, it could be also the other way around sometimes because it's so difficult to score a goal. And sometimes just one goal is decisive. It could be that you're just threatening the opponent's goal and you hit 10 times the crossbar and 10 times the post. And then, the opponent is one time in your half and is there with a deflected strike and the ball goes in and it's a bit like written in the stars. It happens sometimes, but I also don't just hope for a better outcome in terms of luck. It's also like when you are a bit unlucky, like we were in the last game, it's still not like feeling sorry for ourselves. It's also like to work on the topics that you could improve. And if we, for example, have more shots than Fulham in the last game and we had more shots, and if you have 5 or 6 shots per halftime, this is not enough in order to score a goal. You have to work either on your effectiveness or on producing even more. So it means like if we are not the most effective side, perhaps also due to the fact that we are don't have the most individual quality or whatever, then perhaps we have to make sure that we stay a bit more on it and produce even more situations so that just out of coincidence, we score here and there sometimes a goal. Instead of having 5, 6 good situations per halftime, come on, let's work on to have 10 anyhow, and then we will score a goal. And this is more or less like our approach. I'm a deep believer in, on the mid and the long term, you always get what you deserve. And for that, it's not like we're feeling sorry or feeling hard done by or unlucky. It just leads to a situation when you have a game like against Fulham, you don't dwell under it. It's more like, you can be one day disappointed, but then you see the bigger picture and then you also see that we have not done too much wrong. But there are also still a few things that you can improve and have to improve, like I mentioned. So our effectiveness to create even more chances, and this is what we're trying to do. And if you do so, then you also take the momentum, or if you want to label it, the luck, back on your side, and then you also can deliver results.
And in terms of coincidences, Jack Harrison scored on 3 of his last 4 visits to Molineux. Would something like that come maybe into your mind? You know, someone who has a particularly good record against a certain team at a certain place?
No, because this is what something I would label a bit like coincidence and individual statistics for a different team as well. So just because he scored for Everton it doesn't mean that he has an advantage at Leeds United. Jack is a good player and I really like him. I really like what he does in training. He's working hard. This is also the reason why he was more or less in nearly each and every game so far, also on the pitch, not in the starting lineup so far, at least not in the Premier League games. But if he continues with his hard work, he has all chances also to be in the starting lineup one day, and then it's up to grab the chance with both hands. Jack is always in my mind and always a good option, especially also due to the fact that in our offensive position, it's not like we have delivered too many end products in all the other positions. So for all the players, a chance to chip in and to cement their place and to deliver. And but not just because he has scored for his former club. This has no advantage for him for the upcoming game.
Hi Daniel. Last season you talked to us about developing areas of Brendan's game, like when he would move out of good positions or composure in shooting. How do you go about developing the creative side of a player's game so he makes more chances?
Yes, so first of all, it's also important to be not too much on the back of a player and to put too much weight on his shoulders. So I've got sometimes a bit the feeling with Brenden that we are a bit like in public also a bit overcritical with him. I have to defend him also a little bit because yes, he also came into a side. Let's be honest, we have started the first 3 league games and also the last final test preseason against AC Milan, always with the same offense. We've always started with Willy and Daniel James. But in these 4 games, we have not scored out of, we just have scored 1 goal out of open play. It was a midfielder, Anton Stach. And we have scored more or less additionally also 1 penalty situation, and this penalty situation was also won by Anton Stach, and then Lukas Metscher scored this penalty. in football, it's about competition. It's more or less like when you have good players starting and good players on the bench. Yeah, at some moment you also have to deliver. Otherwise, some other good players will come in and get their chances. I was, for example, pleased with the workload of DJ, of Willie against the ball and their tactical behavior. But it's always the same. If you are playing in the offensive position, at some point you're here and there. You have to deliver a goal or to deliver at least an assist. Otherwise, some other good players, if they are training well, they get their chances. This is what happened also in the last game with Brenden and with Noah. Obviously, it was also not one of the easiest games to come in because it was an away game at Fulham. It's always a bit easier, perhaps in a home game, because naturally we're playing a bit more dominant. And the main task, I didn't expect that Brenden would cut Fulham all alone into pieces. The main thing was also like Fulham always has a very strong offensive left side, also with Sessegnon going forward and Iwobi on the left side, and I wanted there a player who supports also our right back. And I think it's also credit to Brendan's good work that Sessegnon was not a factor in their offensive play, that also Iwobi later on was substitute from this position. I think I was pretty pleased with Brendan's defensive work and skill. We know that he has challenges in his offensive game in terms of decision making, being a bit clearer and straightforward. This is something we speak a lot about, that he's a bit clearer in his decision making, also up front. And this is something, you just can work on. It's not like I press a button and do my magic and he's a completely different player who's unbelievable, clinical and always with the right pass. It's more like to bring him in training also more and more into positions where he has to take decisions, and then he's a bit more clearer in his actions and straight in his actions. I quite like that he was in a good position also in the second half, and Fulham was also not a bad finish, was a good save. I like that he had the chance. But it's also for him as an offensive player. Of course, in the end, we want goals, we want assists. And in the end, he has to deliver. Otherwise, a different player will get his chance. But instead of criticizing him too much, it's not like Brenden is not willing to score a goal or not highly motivated. Sometimes it's a bit more like that because he is so on it, that he is perhaps losing a bit his calmness and is then not so clear in his action. This is a bit like what I want to give him, but it's also not helpful if everyone is on his back and always criticizing him for this. I also have this attitude when you have a player and he has covered more distance and more defensive work than any other offensive player all on the pitch. Also, as a supporter, I would be happy and say, listen, this guy works his socks off for us. This is what I want to see. Yes, and if he then also adds creativity and class, and even better, more or less. What I want to see is from my player who represents my shirt is definitely hard work, and this is what Brenden always does. And for that, as long as a player works hard for this team and does his tactical job, what is the basement also against the ball, I'm always happy. But if he wants to become a regular starter who starts each and every game, then for that, of course, he has to improve together with our help his offensive outcome. It's a bit like last season. Daniel James, Mano Solomon at some point, they scored goal after goal and delivered assist after assist, so they kept their place on the starting lineup. If you don't do this in the offense, and so far in the offense we haven't done this, then you have to accept, okay, there's competition. Sometimes a different player gets a chance to cement his position, and this is how football has worked 30 years ago, and it still works also in this way nowadays. So yes, he has to step up a bit in his offensive decision making.
After the Newcastle game, Ilya Gruev thought that the second to last pass was a bit of an issue for the side. That was his feeling. Did you share that thought, and did you feel like the team were better at that against Fulham?
Sometimes also like a defensive midfield player, when he analyzed on the offensive play, what was missing is also straight after the game, sometimes just a phrase, if I'm honest. So I'm not sure if I would 100% agree to this analyzing. Yes, but in general, so again, we have created more chances in comparison to Everton, which is good. We have created more chances in comparison to Newcastle, which is good. We brought ourselves into good positions Also, when we were able to score in Fulham, yes, 100%. There was also sometimes a second-class pass missing, anyhow, in this game. Yeah, but also just sometimes the final pass or the final clinical finish. It's also something, yes, we're working on, but it's also like, yes, if sometimes the touch is too heavy or the pass is 1 yard too far away, it's not like, come on, just concentrate a bit more. It has sometimes also a little bit to do with the natural quality of the player, and we know that in this terms we are perhaps not the most blessed team in this league, and for that we have to work and concentrate a bit harder like this. Yes, Ilya is probably also right that second pass has to be better, but I would also say the final pass and also the final execution of the strike, of the header, of the finish has to be better. In general, our decision making in the opponent's box has to be better. In our own box, apart from this unlucky situation, I think we are really, really good at the moment. At least against Everton, Newcastle, and also in major parts against Fulham. What is a bit missing is this quality also in the opponent's box to score more goals. And this is what we have to add, yes.
Hi, Daniel. Just following on from that, really, you mentioned Anton Stark before, and a lot of focus has been placed on the attackers in the last few games, but is there also a need and an onus on your midfielders to be more creative and to score goals as well?
Yes, of course, because we also play more or less with three midfielders, and during this season, for that we also need goals. We need goals and assists from these positions, from Sean Longstaff, from Anton Stach, from Ao Tanaka, Ilya Guev. If he plays a bit more advanced role, so far he has always played the deep six once Ilya was not available, of course. So it could also be that at some point we also have a different player or a different type of player in this role. Brenden or Joel have played last season also a lot in these positions when we were also could afford also to have one more offensive player also on the pitch. Of course, it's important, and for that we also, in terms of recruitment, we were also focusing on this. We know that Sean Longstaff can score goals. He has shown this also. Also, I would say even in the last game at Fulham, he brought himself into good positions. Said he just hit the crossbar, but we need here and there also goal from midfield positions. Arnold Tanaka is capable to do this. He has proven this last season, and also our defensive players. So at some point, it's also important that Pascal, Joe Roden, or if Sebastian Bonneau or Jacob Biol will play in the centre-back positions, we chip in. Yes, and also my fullbacks like Jaden Bogler also invited. He has scored in the cup so far. Would be also good. Our fullbacks perhaps also to chip in the league games. We need goals from all positions. Just no own goals anymore.
Can I ask you about long throws as well? It seems across the Premier League there seems to be more now this season. Obviously, Ethan's taken quite a few. When did you first discover he has that throw on him, and how big of a weapon will that be for you this season?
Even when we signed him, because my assistant coach Edmund Riemer let the players quite often also like practice throw-ins to see, okay, who is capable in case we go for it always, who isn't there with the throw-in. And also last season we have changed it sometimes because our fullbacks, even the first season, Archie Gray was horrendous in throw-ins. And nowadays you don't learn it on academy level anymore. It's the same like headers. So then Easton had to move out and had to take the throw-in dangerous areas when we need to get rid of the ball in our own half. Football in general, everything was in fashion comes back 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's always like in waves. In my generation, when we had no solution to create a chance anyhow, it was quite often pragmatic, and we said, okay, come on, listen. When there is a throw-in, long throw-in in the box, we move the centre-backs up, and then we go for it and just create a bit of chaos like this. Then there was a bit more like the period of course, possession-based football, a lot Spanish influence was a role model, French influence, and it was a bit more like, a bit the attitude, not criticizing, but that goals out of a throw-in or out of a set piece are not really for the best teams in the world. Let me label it like this. And right now, it's more or less like then the next wave proper long throw-ins are in fashion back again, and you go for it, or also set piece goals. So I never went away from this. You know my attitude from the first day. I said, listen, if you want to win a title, there is a game, and there are games in the season when you need to score out of set pieces, or also like to use a long throw-in. So it won't be, we are still a possession side. It's not like in each every moment we go for it. It's also like if we would need to move Pascal Struijk and Joe Roden in each every situation up into the opponent's box, and are always working with a long throw-in. You can speak to Joe and Pascal anyhow how they like it anyhow, because they also have to sprint back and to defend proper. I'm also not a big believer that football game should be played just in the air and just with this stop and go situations. But if it's possible against some opponents, if the situation on the sideline is good, if the time in the game is good, it's definitely something what we want to use, and we will also use it in the future. And in general, my feeling is it still comes back right now in football. Yeah, even the best possession sides. Yeah, when you watch PSG, Luis Enrique, ball on the stand from the kickoff and just against the ball, I'm still not willing to do this because I hate to give the ball away. But even a manager who is known for keeping possession, he gives the ball to the opponent on purpose anyhow. So at the moment, it feels like the next wave is coming a bit in football, and many things are changing. That doesn't mean you have to do everything. So it's not like I give the ball on purpose to the opponent. I will never do this. But long throw-ins are definitely a tool and a weapon that we want to use. Yes.
Hi Daniel. Last week on two occasions, you mentioned the 2023 write-offs of Daniel, Brenden, Willie, Jack in the relegation season. And it struck me, you mentioned it twice, and you said don't expect miracles from these players. And the psychology of that really fascinated me. And is that the sort of thing where you go to them and say, look lads, I'm going to say this to the press, I need to say I feel like it suits my strategy, but don't get disheartened, or I don't lose faith in you. Do you go and speak to them and address those comments, or do you allow them to read them and make their own minds up?
No, this was something I also spoke with the lads about this, because as a manager, whatever you say, you're always criticized. Because I would say, especially after deadline day, I tried also to stay calm and to back my players. And I would say 95% of the comments were then also like, why is he not punishing the recruitment anymore and goes a bit more like for asking for more options or whatever, and you're criticized for this. And if you then speak about, the players that we have, they're perhaps sometimes lacking individual quality, then it's more like the other 5% say, how can he criticize the players that they are not good enough anyhow? So I don't believe too much in this psychological game. So, I like to be open and honest and to name it how I see it. I've spoken before that our plan was always to add a bit more offensive options to it. And if deadline is over and we have not done this, I can't tell you the exact opposite and say, listen, it was never the plan to sign any offensive players, because I would just talk nonsense. And everyone is also aware, listen, what he's telling us and trying to tell us is more like it's not the truth. I'm not this type of guy who is doing this. But it must be possible. It must be possible also like to address sometimes that we have good players, that we have players that we trust, that we back, who have the chance also to develop, but they are still challenges in the game that they need to improve. Yeah? We spoke about Brenden Aaronson. It must be possible to say, listen, I like this guy, he's working very hard, his work against the ball is on the top level, but of course, he still has to improve his offensive actions, his offensive output. It must be possible also to address this. And this is also what I've done. It must be possible to address this also to the players. So they all know how much I trust them and how much I want them. If I wouldn't trust them and I wouldn't believe them, then they wouldn't be in our squad anyhow. I would have told them more or less like, more or less before, listen, you're not for me on Premier League level. So I back them to improve in comparison to what happened 2 or 3 years ago, and also to address this offensively. Okay, we have to improve this or that topic. It must be possible to do this without that the players know, okay, they are backed and they are trusted anyhow. And this is also what I spoke, for example, with Brenden, also quite open about it. I know, told him, listen, remember how you came here 2 years ago? Everyone was doubting you. You fought your way back in the hearts of the supporters with hard work, with good performances, with goals, assists on championship level. Yes, right now we're back on the Premier League level. Everyone is doing the same, doubting this. Let's be open for this, but just take it as a challenge. So there's nothing to lose, Brenden. Just a lot to win. And we know there are challenges in your game, but you have the backing, and as long as you work hard, we will never lose the trust anyhow. But we will work with you in order to improve you in these topics. And this is also what we're doing. So it must be possible to back your players, but also to ask for some improvements in some areas. It must be possible to be open and honest like this, and not to interpret too much into psychological games.
When Xhaka came in, he was quite an eye-catching sign. Slovenia international, £15 million or thereabouts. Clearly came with dreams of playing regularly. I know you're not here to win the Nobel Peace Prize in terms of giving players minutes, but maybe from the outside, the expectation was Xhaka would eventually maybe become a first-choice option for you, but Pascal has clearly played very well. So has Pascal surprised you in any way and surpassed those expectations?
No, first of all, you have to judge it also in a realistic way. I would say for 80% of the clubs in the Premier League, if you sign a player or a centre-back for £50 million, it feels like, okay, it's probably a project anyhow, and there's a 5th or 6th choice centre-back. I would say at least for 80% of all the clubs on Premier League level. Of course, for us, it's a marquee signing because we're also 100% convinced of Xhaka, and I am also 100% convinced. But it's never like there is already on the team sheet already one name written in the starting lineup just to his transfer fee or salary or name or CV or whatever. It always depends on what happens on the pitch, in the games, on the training pitch. And I have to say that I liked Xhaka a lot during preseason, but was the fact that he was not available for the first game day. And of course, and if you prepare for the first game day, the last final 1 or 2 games in preseason, you go a bit more for the lineup that you would play on the first game day. And for that, Xhaka missed more or less major parts of the last 2 friendlies, preseason games. And then obviously he missed also the first game. We had a really good performance from our centre-backs. We spoke about nearly three clean sheets. Also not too much to moan about, even the Arsenal game anyhow. So I think Pascal and Joe there was outstanding performances, and this is how professional football works. If you deliver, you keep your place. If you're there with poor performance, then a different player steps in. For Xhaka, he had his first outing then in the cup, more or less. Was also difficult because he had then 4 or 5 weeks without a game due to the situation. Was perhaps not the most convincing game, which is also fair to say for him. But we can judge in the right way. He's a really good player. He will be on the mid and the long term. Very, very important for us. We haven't signed him just for the first 4 weeks or the first 4 months. We've signed him for the mid and the long term. He's in a top age, and for that we are really happy with Xhaka. But you have to say, so the centre backs so far, Joe Roden, well done. Pascal Struijk, well done. And if you have to praise a player, then there's a big chance that they keep the place. So that's how I work, at least. So I don't put a player into a starting lineup just due to transfer sums or salary or reputation, or we do some round tables and ask someone anyhow, okay, what do you think, who should play? It's my decision. If I'm happy with performances, I'm happy with the performances of Pascal and Joe Roden, then it's tough at the moment. Xhaka has to wait a little bit. Sebastian Bono has to wait a little bit. But it's a good situation for us in total.
Thank you.
Mark?
Hi, Daniel. You mentioned this extra work in training, this clinical edge in offence. Are you happy with what you've seen from your strikers in training? Are they looking sharp and full of confidence and the body language suppose I'm asking, do you think it's just a matter of time before one of them was going to start hitting the net?
Well, it's not like if you're struggling a bit in terms of scoring goals, you address it and then you train it for 1 or 2 days, and all my offensive players turn into prime Ronaldo anyhow. So it doesn't work like this. It's more like also there step by step to get the confidence back. It's more like to bring them more and more in the positions in front of the goals. We've had many small-sided games during this week when there are naturally many goal-scoring opportunities, and if you then score goals, you gain some confidence, and then more like the instinct comes back. But the main thing is also like to do this in the game. So yeah, they're on a good path on training. I was happy with our performances in training, but right now it's also like about to convert this into the games. And the week was good so far. There are still a few more training sessions to go, at least as one important training session to go, also with shooting and then to work on our processes. And then hopefully whoever will then start on Saturday will convert this also into good performance and hopefully also end products for us on the weekend.
And also Tanaka and Pirro, they both in contention to start.
Yes, of course. For our Tanaka, it was important to have the first full training week right now. Together with us after his long-term injury. Last game, he just had 2 sessions before the game, so for that it was clear he was not the topic for the starting lineup. Yes, once you have a full training session, same for Joel Pirot, then you're also back in contention, but there's also competition. Also midfield players, for example, have delivered really well, so it's also not easy, or even for our Tanaka, who was outstanding before his injury. So it's competition. It's always the same. Yeah? If you deliver, then you keep your place. If you're struggling a bit, there's a chance for another player who impresses perhaps in training. This is how it works. So deliver good performance in training, wait patiently for your chance. If you get your chance, be prepared and grab it, then you stay in the team.
We're going to move on to the embargo section now. If we can turn off cameras, please.